Hello, everybody. I'm Elias, or Elias. There's more vowels than consonants in the name, so pronunciations vary. I'm going to speak to you today about my personal story through, basically where my personal story and the Dune story intersects, and hopefully, surface some interesting anecdotes from Dune prehistory. I understand that many of you in the audience are newer entrants. I'm also one of Dune's earliest users and have kind of been through many trials and tribulations together with the platform as the platform grew to be the awesome thing that it is today, starting from equally awesome roots. So a little bit about myself. So I am the co-founder at a company called Rated. I will make sure to let you know what Rated is and what we do. It's actually ties in really well with what Dune is about, but we'll cover that stuff a little bit later. I was previously with Coinbase as a Proco specialist for a couple years, been working in the infrastructure space, and have been, before that, I've been in crypto since about 2018, working for a fund, started as an analyst, and there this is where I really realized how much wealth of data there is in the intersection of crypto and data and blockchains and so on. And as an analyst, you try and work the data to actually find the alpha and drive returns for the fund, because this is what the fund does. So you might know me from CryptoPunks, the CryptoPunks dashboard, the Bitcoin on Ethereum dashboard, the Bridge Away dashboard, but I think my most prized contribution to Dune has been this meme right here, which is basically the Bushido, the etiquette of sharing content of Dune with proper attributions. And don't forget to give stars to authors, because they also have egos, and sometimes they're fragile. So what is this talk about? Like I told you, it's about Dune's story, my story. Hopefully, highlight the good times, some interesting anecdotes, and then we'll take it from beginning to end. And also, by way of a little dummy query being there, can anybody spot the error in the query? There's no on the join. All right, and also before we get deeper into it, I know anticipation is building up. Some housekeeping items. Boxer is not a horse in real life. I'm still surprised the third or fourth time that I meet him, and it's still the same. Commas belong to the end of the statement. That's to the right. And lowercasing SQL is not cool. I do it all the time. It's an affliction. It's like smoking. You should stop doing it if you do it. All right, so where the story starts. So I'm this analyst. It's 2019, actually. I'm building this report. I'm looking for data. I'm working with all these APIs, Token Analyst API, rest in peace, a bunch of others. And then things are starting to pick up, right? There was a time in crypto where the most interesting thing that was happening was Bitcoin inflows and outflows from exchanges. I kid you not. You'd post that stuff on Twitter with a nice chart, and people would go oh my God, alpha, let's trade. And then obviously that quickly withered away. But what came after that was the rise of Ethereum as an application platform, right? And a lot of traction started actually happening in the depths of the bear market, and there were so many interesting things to track, but these APIs couldn't actually grow quickly enough to be able to give you the data that you were looking for, right? And so I'm speaking to my friend Tara Tan from IDO that I was working on this report with, and she's like, "Yo, I met this guy Frederick, and they're working on this product that you can use SQL to query the Ethereum blockchain." And I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting. And so I started working on the platform, trying to kind of hack together things. I didn't really know SQL, and then I met Frederick in the fall of 2019 at the DeFi Summit in London, in Imperial College, and that's pretty much the courtyard where we met. And I was like, dude, awesome! There's so much happening. I can't really figure out like how to track everything. And he's like, well, you should probably try this thing that we're building called Dune. And I'm like, but I don't know SQL. And he's like, well, it's easier than you think. I can help you out. And so I started really getting on this journey of learning how to use Dune, right? And learning SQL at the time. And then we spent a bunch of time on Telegram with Frederick on the other side, troubleshooting my really poor SQL syntax, right? Like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do that other thing? And Frederick was just always there, always available, just like providing all the support that like a budding wizard would need. And even if the product, like this is for those of you that didn't see it before, kind of like the new amazing skin that Dune has. This is kind of like the early version of the product, and like the query section, and then the results section, and everything. And it was like, it was a young product. It was slow. It was sometimes it would get stuck. You didn't know why it would get stuck, but it was addictive. For someone that was looking answers into what's happening in Ethereum, it was incredibly addictive. And then the more you understood the SQL syntax, the more you realize that you can actually like solve more interesting questions, right? And so that feedback loop kept you just like going and going and going and going. And eventually, you would get to something that actually made sense, right? And so try and try again and try again, and you would get to something that actually represents the truth. There were no more mistakes in the code. There were no more mistakes in the contract structure as you sort of mapped it out. Also, like a really interesting thing about Dune that I understood earlier on, it was like Dune helped me understand Ethereum a lot better than I would have otherwise. I'm not a software engineer. I don't understand Ethereum in like a super, super deep level, but through Dune, and actually like having to map out the data structures and how contracts work and what calls are versus what events are, and like all this weird and wonderful world of Ethereum. Happy merge day, by the way. It really kind of like helped me develop a more holistic view of what Ethereum is and how it works. And this is, I think, one of the first queries that I actually like got right. And then it's the DeFi Pulse, I think, view of the WBTC supply, and like comparing the two and being like, oh my god, this actually like it is correct. So Frederick was like, see, I told you, it's not that hard. And then finally, one day after, like it was probably like, I guess 6 to 9 months of this back and forth and kind of like upskilling and learning and so on. One day I published this fully spec'd dashboard that was very janky. It was also like breaking a bunch of times, and I had to spend a bunch of time also troubleshooting. But it is still to this day like a dashboard that I'm proud of, right? Like it's capturing like a macro view of like an important subset of what's happening in Ethereum. And it's also like, it kind of sparks joy. I mean, at least to me, nice colors. It's like not overloaded with information. Like you get everything that you need and no more. And so at that point, I was like, yes, finally, I know SQL now. And Frederick was like, yes, finally, this guy's off my case. Through that journey, that's like a first-person story, right? And that's a first-person view of the story. But as you know, the core of what Dune is really about is this like incredible community of people, right? In the beginning, there was like a crazy man on a hill dancing naked, and people thought he was like totally crazy, and then another person comes and becomes a party, right? Similar story here. You realize that very quickly through kind of like the journey as a Dune user, that it's not like a player versus environment game, and it's not like a player versus player game. It's squarely a massive online RPG type game, right? And you got all your favorite characters from the leaderboard there, working as a clan together and going on quests. And you actually make great friends by the camaraderie that there is in this collaborative community, like people helping people resolve their questions about SQL, about queries, about contract structures, sharing information, and like having good times on the internet together. So we've been on many adventures. I'm gonna stick with one in particular, which was one of the most fun times I've had on the internet to date, and it was that time where I think it was about summer last year, 2021, and Dune really started blowing up, like blowing up of the type that like Yahoo Finance is like pinching dashboards and tables and graphs and posting them, and Bloomberg, and like it was all over the news. DuneAnalytics.com, I don't know, it was Dune XYZ maybe at that time. In any case, and as this popularity started rolling in, people would always do it, but as this wave of people sharing and like retweeting and so on rolled in, people didn't actually give attribution to the authors of the queries, of the dashboard, or anything. And like I told you, authors have egos, and they're fragile. And so we went on this. This is a screenshot of Yahoo Finance, basically quoting one of my tables from the Bridgeaway dashboard, and me seeing it and seeing no attribution, neither to Dune, I think, nor to myself as an author. And I'm like, started from the bottom now. We're at the top of the weekly charts on Dune and getting quoted on Yahoo Finance without attribution, of course, GM. And with this wonderful group of wizards in this MMORPG, we went on the stats leecher raid, right? We're like, this is not just. Something needs to change. People need to learn how to give proper attribution to the authors of Dune. And so, the band of wizards got together, and you see some of the outrage from the wizard community that made it to Twitter. Danner and Coffee that was on the panel before, and then Richard in the shadows, and then I clearly remember it was a Sunday, and I was livid, and I spent all my Sunday being a keyboard warrior. Frederick on the other side, and he was like, "I know it sucks. We're gonna do something about it." And then I think 2 or 3 days later, Dune pushed this feature that you now all know, which is basically the attribution to the author on every sort of screen that exists. Is it like a counter? Is it a table? Is it a chart? And so on. And I think it was Bernat's first feature that he pushed when he joined. Thank you. That was awesome. Or the time we did the fake stars raid. A few of us saw some dashboards conspicuously raising in popularity in Dune out of no time, and we started asking questions. We're like, where are all these stars coming from? It took a couple runs and a little bit of detective work to actually figure out what was going on. But then, the team got on it and then dealt with it in a very graceful way. So congratulations for being, good stewards of your community, and congratulations to the community for not standing up to that type of injustice, because we do have egos and they are fragile. All of this to say that. And this talk is about, my journey and me becoming a founder, and what did I learn from all that, and how does it tie together to kind of like the stuff that I'm looking at today and how I spend my time. And the one thing is that it's important, right? And it's also not random that Dune has this community that it does today, because it all starts from Frederick spending all this time with myself, with other people that were early on the platform, to just actually, listen to the user. Where's the pain point? Let's teach you some SQL. Let's just help you succeed as much as you can on this platform. And success is actually answering the questions that you have, right? Let's help you get unblocked. Because imagine what the story would be like if I rocked up to Frederick in that courtyard and said, yo, I need answers. Can you get me them? Can you help me get them? And he goes like, sucks to be you, right? We wouldn't be here. The attention, the patience, and like really kind of being very close to your users and driving those product feedback loops that Frederick was talking about earlier today is a very important factor in the fact that we're all today here, I think. And of course, none of that would be possible without the hero behind the scenes, at least in that era, Mats, who was like, while we were playing silly games on Telegram, Mats was just like, holding the earth on his back, keeping the platform up and constantly pushing it forward. So thank you, Mats, for that. To recap a little bit, and then I will shortly move into exercising my license to shill mode, and I'll tell you a little bit about the stuff that we're working on and how this all ties back into Dune. But it's important to remember like what Dune is. Dune is first and foremost a community of great people that help each other resolve their questions about what's happening in this Ethereum and now Solana and L2 world and all these great environments that Dune has launched support for. Dune is also, as you know, proof of work. By writing queries on Dune, and I'm sure like all of you that have actually paid the time and care and attention to actually like create work on Dune and so on, what I have found is that with a well-presented piece of work on Dune, what you communicate to the world is multiple things. You have like some relative skill in understanding data, in curating information, in communicating information appropriately, and then eventually like sparking joy, right? Like a dashboard within Dune is a product in and of itself. Right, and that's really important for all of you that are creating dashboards. You're curating information. You have responsibility in that, and you also have like the potential to really like do something that excites people, and people look to it for information. Like people come to me still, and they're like, man, your bridge dashboard is awesome, and like why doesn't like a standalone thing not exist like that? So to me, this is like it wows me. I never fucking, excuse my French, I never imagined that a dashboard would actually elicit that type of reaction from people. So it's something to respect and take good care of. But most importantly, Dune is a conduit of truth. And what that means is that, the popular narrative goes that blockchain data are open and blockchains are transparent and you can just go and like grab the data and see what happened, right? Wrong. Without something like Dune, this would, for all intents and purposes, be very close to a black box, right? And only people that have like a certain level of skill would be able to actually extract the truth from the chain. So Dune is an incredibly powerful tool that allows a much larger number of people to go and actually access the truth about what is happening in the world, at least the on-chain world around them. And then, going back to Frederick's talk from this morning, imagine that if we are to run, anywhere close to 1% of the world's transactions on these systems, then tools like that are incredibly important. It's incredibly important to be able to actually verify that an event happened, right? A financial transaction involving companies, but it might be a financial transaction involving nation states that has repercussions that could send countries into crisis mode for several years, a decade, 2 decades, and so on, because these financial transactions happen behind closed doors, right? And perhaps this is a a good segue to talk to you about what we're doing at Rated, which is the company that I founded, which we're going one level deeper, and our mission is to bring this level of transparency at the infrastructure layer of chains, starting with Ethereum, right? If we are to have 1% or more of the world's transactions run on these chains, I cannot imagine a world, or I don't want to live in a world, where there is no transparency in the machine set that actually secures all this value and is responsible for progressing the chain forward, right? And we recently announced our seed round, led by the king of the Dune leaderboard, Richard Chen, at One Confirmation, which is like one more great sort of testament of the Dune community and like the great moments that it can bring to you if you give to it what it deserves, and also Semantic, who is an early Dune backer, and so on. So there's like a lot of parallel threads here. So what we're building, we're calling Reputation for Machines, which is basically what it sounds like. Validators run this chain starting today, and these validators are composed together, validator-operator entities that make different decisions about how they handle transactions. Some perform better, some perform worse. And we're basically seeking to bring a much higher level of transparency than currently available to the world. And the grand vision is that with this level of transparency and this level of available data about these machines and how these machines perform, we can help also drive a lot more innovation in sort of the financial products market that relates to the infrastructure space, thereby increasing the security profile of the base layer of these networks, but just driving a lot more capital. In proof of stake, as you know, capital is one of the two functions that feed into the security algorithm. We are also getting out of V0 that we've been in for the last 6 months, and we're launching V1 this month. We've already released some merge-ready features on our current dashboard, but this is actually being sunset, and we're introducing very soon a new and improved network operator explorer where you can just go and explore, like, you know, what Lido is doing, what Coinbase is doing, how these pools are distributed, how they've been performing, how they handle MEV, how they handle fees, which relayers they're subscribed to, and a bunch of other information that relates to how these operators are set up. And we're also hiring. So if you're interested in learning more about what we do, and you know, why not maybe potentially joining us in this mission of ours, come talk to me. I'm at Elias Simos on Twitter. My DMs, I think, are open. Or shoot us an email at join@rated.network. This is us. Thank you.